This is a Sports Catastrophe special presentation. Hey there, ho there, it's Jeff Cutter Diamond welcoming you to another Sports Catastrophe on this day. And on this day, January the 30th, in the year 2000. I know it's a theme with the Super Bowl and all that, but Super Bowl 34 was a good Super Bowl. It was held at the Georgia Dome between the St. Louis Rams and the Tennessee Titans. Both teams making great strides after a period of struggles and relocation. The Rams got the greatest show on turf to be 13-3, the best in the NFC. And the first time that the Rams franchise, after they moved from Los Angeles to St. Louis in '94, were in the playoffs. The Titans also were 13-3, but had a wild card and went to the Super Bowl thanks to their wild card stuff. The Titans were making their first playoff run since the 93-94 season, when they got shocked by Kansas City in their former home, the Houston Astrodome. Anyway, the ending is one to behold. Anyway, this was huge. The Rams were stragglers. The franchise moved from Los Angeles to St. Louis to what was known as the GWA Dome in the America's Dome. I forget what it's called now. Yeah, I think it's called the America's Dome or something like that in St. Louis. But anyhow, they struggled. Dick Vermeil came back to be a head coach for the first time after 15 years of retirement. The Rams were not really that good in his first 2 years, but they stepped by him. And there was even a few NFL experts that said that the 99-2000 season, the Rams would be worse than the expansion Cleveland Browns. Anyway, Trent Green was made to be the Rams starting quarterback, but then he got a knee injury in the preseason, which made Kurt Warner, the undrafted, heralded quarterback that I've talked about several times, the new starter. Warner played in the Arena Football League in NFL Europe, but not in the NFL. So anyway, strange as it sounded, the Rams then went 13-3. Mike Martz, the offensive coordinator, ran the high-powered offense called the greatest show on turf because of the turf field in St. Louis. Warner threw 11 passes in one game in '98, but the next season he had spectacular times. 109 passer rating, 4,300 plus yards, 41 touchdowns, and 13 interceptions, winning the MVP. That was really shocking. Marshall Faulk came over from the Colts in a trade so that the Colts could take Edgerrin James in the draft. Had a good season. He was the Offensive Player of the Year. He was second in MVP order. He scored 12 touchdowns, ran for over 1,300 yards, and actually recorded the most catches on the team with 87 with 1,048 yards. So he had 2,429 total yards, receiving and running. He was the second running back in history to do that, 1,000 rushing and receiving. Roger Craig was the first in 1985. Falk did well with the yards from scrimmage, but Chris Johnson was next. Broke that mark in 2009. Falk wasn't the only weapon at Warner's disposal in '99. Isaac Bruce looked good with 12 touchdown catches. Torrey Holt got 6. Az Hakim was a big threat with 8 touchdown receptions. They had a good offensive line, and they looked pretty good. The defense actually led the league in fewest rushing yards allowed, which was good. Kevin Carter and Grant Wisdom on the defensive ends. London Fletcher, Mike Jones, and Todd Collins, decent linebackers, and the secondary had Todd Late and Dexter McLean to reply. In fact, this was the Rams' first. That can't be right. They said my sources say it was the first playoff appearance in '79, but that's wrong. I know the Rams got crushed by Dallas. Something fishy. Anyway, the Tennessee Titans also had a relocation issue. They relocated from Houston. They were the Houston Oilers. They had a great period in the '90s, but they couldn't win in the playoffs to save their life. They got victimized by a 35-3 comeback by the Bills in the wildcard round. in 93. In 92, they actually were close to beating Denver in Denver, but then LA did the drive too and got Denver the win. And then, of course, let's not forget Houston being good in 93-94, but then losing to Kansas City and Joe Montana on home turf. So, anyway, Bud Adams moved the team to Tennessee, to Nashville, but the stadium was not ready, so they had to move to Memphis and be called the Tennessee Oilers. All that. And then in 98, they played at Vanderbilt Stadium. And then once Nissan Stadium was completed in 99, the team's name was changed to the Tennessee Titans. So they did their job. The 99 Titans were led by Steve McNair and Eddie George, a great 1-2 punch, if there ever was one. Neil O'Donnell had to play some games due to injury to McNair, but he did pretty well for himself. Lorenzo Neal was a good fullback. Yancey Bigpen was a good wide receiver. Kevin Dyson and Frank Wychak also were good receivers. Bruce Matthews looked good. Derek Mason was a good special teams guy. The defensive line, they had Javon Curse, the rookie, being very good, and Samari Rowe leading the secondary. The Titans were 13-3. They beat the Rams in the regular season, which was weird enough. But anyway, they finished second in the AFC Central. You're like, wait, they won 13 games. How can they lose? How could they not win the division? Well, simple. Because there was another team better than them. It was the Jacksonville Jaguars. The 14-2 Jacksonville Jaguars. So, anyway. In the wild card round, the Rams, Kurt Warner threw 395 yards and 5 touchdowns. The Rams crushed Minnesota 49-37 in a very highly anticipated offensive showdown. They scored 35 unanswered points in the second half. So, Jeff George did pretty well for the Vikings, 4 touchdowns. But a lot of it was due to the fact the Rams were going to win anyway. Then the Rams had to beat Tampa on home turf 11-6 on a touchdown catch by Ricky Proehl of all people. And Tampa got ruined by the Bird Emanuel catch. That wasn't a catch. They said the ball hit the turf, but it didn't. They put the Bird Emanuel rule, saying that if it hits the ground but he still has super precision, he's safe. Meanwhile, in the AFC, the Titans had a contentious playoff, especially the Music City Miracle game in which they got lucky. But the ball, it looked like the ladder looked a little forward and all that. But it was a touchdown. And the Bills got ruined. So much so the Bills didn't make the playoffs for 17 years after that. Of course, Buffalo would have made things easier if they had put Doug Flutie instead of Rob Johnson in the game. Then the Titans went to Indianapolis and took down Peyton Manning and the Colts 1916. And then the Titans went to Jacksonville and beat the Jaguars 33-14. It's funny how the Jaguars were 14-2 in the regular season. They beat the Dolphins, sending Jimmy Johnson and Dan Marino into retirement. And then they freaking lose on home turf to the Titans. Worst still was that Jacksonville lost 3 games that entire 99-2000 season. And all of them were to Tennessee. Strange as it sounded, 2 ice storms hit Atlanta within a week of each other. Thankfully, the city and state crews kept streets and sidewalks free of ice, and public transport kept running. Thankfully, Super Bowl 34 was played indoors, so it wasn't really affected too much. Some residents thought that the poor weather during Super Bowl week impacted the city's chances of hosting another Super Bowl. It wouldn't be till Super Bowl 53 that they finally got the Super Bowl. So, anyway, it is the most recent Super Bowl in which neither team have already won a Super Bowl. So basically, both the Rams and Titans had not won a Super Bowl. And someone was going to win their first. It's the first time, it's the last time that's happened. So, this year, is it possible this year? No, it's not, because well, it's not possible because one of the final 4 teams in the NFL had 0 titles, and the Rams and Niners and the Chiefs have a title. So anyway, ABC would broadcast the game with Al Michaels and Boomer Esiason. I thought it was Dan Dierdorf being the color commentator, but no, it was Boomer. Anyway, this game was actually known as the .com Super Bowl because it was the height of the .com bubble, in which several internet companies purchased TV commercials, and a lot of them had the bubbles burst. Faith Hill sang the national anthem, and then Disney did the Tapestry of Nations and all that. Regardless, the game did go on, and St. Louis scored the first 16 points of the game, while 3 field goals by Jeff Wilkins and a touchdown catch by Torrey Holt from Kurt Warner made 16-0. The Titans were in for it. And then Eddie George got a touchdown run in the 3rd quarter to make it 16-6. They go for 2 for some dumb reason and fail. And then in the middle of the 4th quarter, Eddie George got another touchdown run to make it 16-6. Del Greco was on the field to kick an extra point and made it 16-13. And then after a 3-and-out, Tennessee would run a 4-minute drive, and Del Greco kicked a 43-yard field goal to tie the game. And then just like that, after they got the ball at the 27, the Rams made one play, Warner to Isaac Bruce, and Bruce's speed worked out, and the Rams had a 23-16 lead. And then the Titans had time to come back. Steve McNair was pretty good and all that. And then, final few seconds, he throws the ball to Kevin Dyson, who's ready to get in the end zone, and we will have overtime for the first time in the Super Bowl. No. He was just short by 1 yard. Can you believe it, how close we were to see the first Super Bowl in overtime? It was 2000. Yikes. The Rams win the Super Bowl. Kurt Warner had a Cinderella run. The guy was stocking shelves and playing in the Arena Football League and NFL Europe. And he goes back. His first full season as a starter in the NFL, he freaking leads the Rams to an NFL best 13-3 mark. Well, not NFL best, I should say. Well, a 13-3 mark and a Super Bowl title. Can't beat that. There's even a movie about Kurt Warner and all that. But as my buddy Bill points out, that they're just glossing over, the fact that after the 2000 season, they don't talk about much. I mean, the guy freaking was on a downswing after an injury with the Rams, and then he was sent to the Giants, who basically benched him when Eli Manning was good and ready. Then he went to Arizona and led them to the Super Bowl. Not a title, but to the Super Bowl against the Steelers, which the toe tap was Antonio Holmes. Did his job. Anyway, Isaac Bruce had 162 yards receiving, and Torrey Holt had 109. In fact, they were the 4th pair of teammates to both have 100 yards receiving in a Super Bowl. The Steelers had Stallworth and Swan in Super Bowl 13. Bengals with Chris Collinsworth and Dan Ross, Super Bowl 16. And the Redskins, Super Bowl 26, Gary Clark and Art Monk. Marshall Faulk was only held to 17 rushing yards, but he got 90 yards catching balls and all that. Dick Vermeil became the oldest coach ever to win a Super Bowl at age 63 at that time. He would set the record for the longest amount of time between going to his first Super Bowl to winning it for the first time. Super Bowl 15 and then Super Bowl 34, so 19 years. He retired for good. And unfortunately, in 2001, he came back to coach the Chiefs. He did okay, but the Chiefs couldn't do well in the playoffs. And then he retired for good in 2005. It was only the 2nd Super Bowl in which there were 0 turnovers. And the last time that happened. The other time was Super Bowl 25, ironically enough. Anyway, the Rams became the first and only NFL team to win a championship in 3 different cities. They won the 1945 NFL title, being in Cleveland, before moving to Los Angeles. And then in 1951, they won the NFL title game in Los Angeles. Pre-Super Bowl, of course. But that still counts. Warner threw for 414 yards, which at the time was the best in Super Bowl history, but that mark has only been beaten twice. both by Tom Brady. So, yeah, no turnovers, which was amazing and all that. So, anyway, yeah, the Rams had a dynasty, or so we thought. Unfortunately, though, it wouldn't last for long, as they lost Super Bowl 36, which I will allude to in a future video. But anyway, the Rams just lost it from there. It was great. And as Georgia Frontier says, let's all be happy. And they were happy for a time being. And then they just lost the plot. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. I do.